It seems like it's rare these days for me to come out here and do a video where I'm actually pleased a little bit. And this is pleased more than a little bit. Because this is one of those things where a sheriff, and keep in mind, the sheriff is the top law enforcement in his or her given county. Not the feds, nope, the sheriff. And I think the feds sometimes forget that, or just think, well, they don't care anyways. They're not going to do anything. Even if we overstep our bounds, they won't do anything. Or maybe they rely on the fact that most sheriffs or police officers won't do anything. But not in this case. Sheriff blocks feds from harassing raw milk farmer. Now we're talking. Stem the tide of federal overreach. Silver doctors. Your local elected officials can stem the tide of federal overreach if they apply just a little backbone in supporting and defending the Constitution. Expect it and demand it. Submitted by Mac Slavo. While many are still reeling from the outrageous shooting of Lavoy Vinisum and the aftermath of the Oregon standoff and arrest of patriots linked to it, there are other battles against the feds taking place across the country. Much less attention was paid to Sheriff Brad Rogers of Elkhart County in Indiana, who just successfully concluded his own showdown with federal officials from the FDA. The same FDA, pharmaceutical causes 5 million side effects, you're approved. Pharmaceutical may cause death, may cause suicidal thoughts, you're approved. Raw milk farmer, you're not approved. Why is it even called raw milk farming? Should it just be called a milk farmer? Dairy farm? Well, no, that implies big, not necessarily big pharma, big milk industry, whatever you want to call it, where there's massive rules, regulations, and you got to give all these cows better have their growth hormone shots and all these other shots. Once again, who makes the money? Pharmaceutical shots. There's 2 or 3, 4 new shots now in the regimen for us humans. They just added them. There's now over 2 dozen, I think, shots from the time you're born to the time they say, okay, you're good to go. When 30, 40, 50 years ago, there was just a few shots. And as far as I can tell, there's not some kind of epidemic killing off people. As a matter of fact, more people are coming down with more symptoms of other things, not even symptoms, autism and all kinds of problems from these damn shots. So the shots are now having the effect, the opposite effect of what they're supposed to do. Supposed to keep you safe and healthy. Now they're turning you into, something else. Or giving you some disease or, ailment. The scenario was quite different, but the principles involved strike a similar chord. Burdensome overreach and tyranny on the part of the federal government and its swarm of agents. As activists have seen in many other cases, the FDA has gone after raw milk farmers and raw food proponents with frightening force, carrying out SWAT raids, trumped-up arrests, and destruction of food, all with no valid reason, and plenty of appearance of outright harassment. Sheriff Rogers investigated a complaint from a constituent farmer and found that he sided with this case. There was no justified cause for invasive inspections happening repeatedly since 2011 every couple of weeks. Basically, they were just looking for a reason to shut the farmer down, and Rogers put a stop to it. Sheriff Rogers, that is. Off the Grid News reports on this inspiring development and its implications for a winning strategy against what is going on in this country. Federal agents subjected a farmer to harassment and warrantless searches simply for producing raw milk, but a county sheriff took the farmer's side and blocked federal agents from the property, and the sheriff is now speaking out. The FDA, U.S. Food and Drug Administration, and Department of Justice took the actions 4 years ago simply because the farmer was providing raw milk to an organic food co-op. The story is receiving renewed coverage because the Indiana sheriff, Elkhart County's Brad Rogers, wrote a 600-word explanation for a local newspaper as part of his Ask the Sheriff series. Off the Grid News previously reported on the dispute. Specifically, the FDA was inspecting his farm without a warrant as much as every 2 weeks, Rogers wrote. Typical inspections occur annually. The Department of Justice had subpoenaed him for a grand jury in Michigan in which he was to bring his production documents. The feds wanted to make this farmer an example. My research, Rogers said, concluded that no one was getting sick from this distribution of this raw milk. It appeared to be harassment by the FDA and the Department of Justice. So we've gone even higher than the FDA. You've gone to the highest law of the land, the Department of Justice, handpicked by Obama. This is tyranny at the highest level. That's the highest law enforcement of the land. Siding with the FDA, of course. We need to go out. We need to make an example out of this guy. You're selling raw milk to people? Oh my God! You're an ISIS terrorist. Selling organic milk? Oh my God! Put a stop to this. Who would have ever thought in America, United States of America, that I would even be reading such a thing to you? That this would even happen? Even with these rotten criminals in power. Are they that rotten? Yes. The answer is a resounding yes. It appeared to be harassment by the FDA and Department of Justice and making unconstitutional searches, in my opinion. The farmer told me he had no longer wished to cooperate with the inspections of his property. I've had enough, is what he said. And to be hit every freaking week or two, I think I would have to side with him. You know, this is supposed to happen annually. You've been coming here for years, every couple of weeks, nonstop. Nothing is ever found wrong. I've had enough. Go back to the one-year inspections, annual inspections. Reportedly, Sheriff Rogers then wrote to the Department of Justice and informed them of the actions he would take if federal inspectors did not have a signed warrant based upon probable cause over which to conduct their searches. Now, here's the next problem. Do you think the Department of Justice can very easily get one of their president's handpicked judges, federal judge, appointed by you, me, vote? Nope, president. I need a warrant. Matter of fact, they might go to the secret court. What is it? The FISA court. The FISA court. Don't know who the judge is. We don't know who signed off. Are they even really judges? We don't know. We can't tell. They just sign off. Warrants for terrorist stuff. All that. Can you imagine if they get a warrant signed off by a FISA court judge for a raw farm dairy? Quote, I understand that you have made recent requests to the farmer for documents and to appear before a grand jury, and he has had a number of inspections and attempted inspections on his farm within Elkhart County. This is notice that any further attempts to inspect this farm without a warrant signed by a judge based on probable cause will result in federal inspectors' removal or arrest for trespassing by my officers or I. In addition, if any further action is taken by the federal government on the farmer, I'm sure they're taking his name out, while he is in Elkhart County, I will expect that you or federal authorities contact my office prior to such action, which is typical. You're in my county making an arrest, I need to be there, or one of my deputies. That's the same way it works everywhere. I will expect you to forward this information to your federal associates, including the FDA. Shortly after the email was sent, the farmer received a certified letter from the Department of Justice that said his grand jury subpoena had been canceled. No federal inspectors have visited the farm since 2011. Quote, your local elected officials can stem the tide of federal overreach if they apply just a little backbone in supporting and defending the Constitution. Expect it, demand it, Rogers wrote. Some bloggers and natural food writers have hailed me as a hero. I'm no hero, just doing my job. And it's true. Hey, that's overreach, that's wrong. You come back on his property again with these nonsense inspections, I'll arrest your ass, or at the very least remove you, at least the first time. And can you imagine the news story that would blow up? Local sheriff arrests federal inspectors or agents. All the federal government needs is for that to come out. And then the whole damn country is going to say, whoa, wait a minute. You know, they've done that here. You know, yeah, I heard there was this case down in such and such county. They did that. People will flood the sheriff with letters, calls, whatever. Mr. Sheriff or Mrs. Sheriff, we need you to take a stand. Look what this one did, what Mr. Rogers did. Not Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. Mr. Rogers, the sheriff. And would you like to be his neighbor? Yes, I would. So, anyways, they even had him on Fox News. Sheriff says he'd ignore gun executive order. Is that the same one? I think it might be. It might even be the same guy. Let's see, yeah. The same sheriff made news a few months ago when he vowed that he would ignore any gun control executive order. So let me guess. There's going to be a school shooting in this sheriff's neighborhood. Imagine that. You know, just like the other one. Sheriff came out and said similar thing. Matter of fact, this isn't the same guy, is it? Like from the Oregon shooting with that school. Elkhart counties. Yeah, I don't think that was the same one. But anyways, that's a fantastic story. Gives me great pleasure to give that to you this morning. Take care.